Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. Happy 2025. How are we already here? I hope everyone had a great holiday. I stuck around. We traveled at Thanksgiving, so we just kind of laid low and enjoyed some time with friends, did some fun things, went into DC. It was a great time. And I really like, we get a lot of flack from some of our family for not traveling at Christmas, but I kind of like it because I never have any client meetings. Everyone's kind of like laid back, taking time off. So it's a good time for me to take off, or to not necessarily take off, but to like flex my time and be just working on like prepping 2025. So speaking of 2025, since we're here, most social media managers have really done this like back in like November or whatever, but we're going to start the year with some of the social media trends and predictions for the year ahead. And I did a lot of deep diving. I followed a bunch of influencers, and in the industry, a lot of people will say kind of the same thing. So I kind of look for, what are the common things? And we're just going to kind of talk about some of the things to look for in mostly the social media space, but also just kind of the marketing space in general. I feel like some of these things that I found from some of these sources definitely kind of cross the board for social media and just general marketing strategies. So first things first, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. And we all have a love-hate relationship with AI, but AI is here to stay. I don't care what anyone says. Personally, I think everyone needs to find a way to incorporate it into their workflow, especially when it comes to marketing your businesses. There's lots of AI among the social media platforms, like Meta AI launched last year. Now it's offering content suggestions, and it can give real-time answers for customers and clients. So it's a great tool. That being said, I do not like Mark Zuckerberg being like, oh, AI content's probably going to be dominating the feeds in a couple of years. Let's show real pictures of ourselves, please. Twitter, X, forever Twitter in my mind. X is also now using tweets to train its AI, which after the election, we saw a massive outflow of users. Like when they announced this, literally Blue Sky and Threads blew up. So if you don't want your tweets to train Twitter X's AI, you may want to stop posting there. TikTok also has an assistant that helps creators explore trending topics. And Canva also, Canva is a tool that many marketers use, even small businesses, that is full of AI tools to help create those custom designs. So buckle up, AI is not going anywhere. Personally, I like to use it for ideation. I like to use it for editing. I've actually started, and I've mentioned Cast Magic and Descript, two of my favorite tools out there for editing long form video into short form clips. And Cast Magic takes videos and it can create blog posts. It can create captions. It can do all of the things. I'm going to link to those in the show notes. So yeah, buckle up. AI is not going anywhere. Like I said, learn to use it to streamline your processes. That's what I'm going to say. Next up, and I loved this. This came from Hootsuite, and I really, really love this because this is something that I've been thinking about for a while and a way that I am hoping to add more value to my clients in the year ahead. It's not just about social marketing anymore. Social marketing is performance marketing. And Hootsuite said, performance marketing is all about driving measurable business outcomes at the best possible ROI. So what that means is us as social media marketers need to be able to connect the metrics from social. Step back. For many years, social media has been notoriously really, really hard to measure the direct impact of social media marketing to the actual business. So in the year ahead, because so many platforms now have advanced analytics, there's so much data out there for marketers. Businesses now want to be able to connect those dots. So we need to stop looking at vanity metrics like the likes, the comments, the reels views, all those things, because they don't show the impact of social media on a business. However, we also know with the rise of DM automation, with the rise of like Instagram shops, Meta shops, TikTok shops, all the shops, there are more ways to measure that impact. So in the year ahead, we are expecting more brands to use social media as a core performance channel. I mean, with the billions of users out there using social media, it's really hard not to use it as a core channel to drive that measurable growth and also get specific business intelligence through social listening and those advanced analytics. How, as a business owner, because, Hootsuite's obviously talking about these massive, massive Fortune 500 brands, all that kind of stuff. How, as kind of small to mid-size, hopefully seven-figure owners, as you are, do you prepare for this? There's lots of ways: tracking your leads, integrating into your CRM, making sure that you have a process to track all these things, i.e. tracking links so that you can measure the impact. All of those things. If you need help setting up those systems, that's where I'm moving into in the year ahead, is really, the analytics aspect, the overall social media marketing strategy of this all. How do we measure the impact of social media on our businesses? More than just, consistently posting, but also looking deeper into the analytics to say, oh, hey, yes, I generated X thousands of dollars of revenue from, this campaign and this post. So a deeper dive into the analytics. That's what I'm getting at. Next trend that we're looking at, and I'm kind of excited to see this one. It was a trend detox. And I saw a few people mention this. And, brands, people, businesses love jumping on trends. And for some businesses, they, have the ability to, because trends, we know, change as often as the weather. Speaking of weather, I want to share this amazing quote. It's one of my favorites because I grew up in New England. And given that it's January, when I was researching this, it really made me think about it. Benjamin Franklin once said, if you hate the weather in New England, or maybe it was Mark Twain, Benjamin Franklin, some old man from, 1800s, once said, if you hate the weather in New England, wait a minute. Basically, the weather in New England changes. When we went up to Vermont and at Thanksgiving, my husband was like, how should I pack for this? And I'm like, pack for all 4 seasons. Just pack for them all. You never know if it's going to be, 20 degrees or 80 degrees. So yeah, I always find that funny. And so reading, deciding to say, trends change as often as the weather made me think about that. Sidebar. So one of the things that I saw, and I think Hootsuite also mentioned this, is that brands that just are constantly jumping on trends kind of risk appearing inauthentic. Now, it depends very much on your business. It depends very much on your business, what you're doing. But I think there is an opportunity to kind of step away from the trends, create more original content, and make sure that if you are jumping on those trends, that they fit with your brand and that they're actually doing something. And what do I mean by doing something? Like, how do you know when you should jump on a trend? 1. 2, keep space in your marketing calendar to jump on trends. 2. And 3, make sure that there's a balance in your content. Because if you're just constantly jumping on trend after trend after trend, like, why? Is it because you're not original? Is it because you're not authentic? Is it because you don't know what to post? Like, think about the why behind jumping on trends. And that kind of leads me into personality over consistency. And this one was really interesting to me because when I work with clients, like, we make sure that their content stays on brand, on message, working towards our goals. But this kind of made me like, when I was researching into this. So audience respond best, we know, to authenticity. We know that, and I saw this in a video, that people want to be entertained. They don't want to be sold to on social media. So stop selling. Like, just stop overly selling. People are tired of that. People are exhausted. So If we know that audiences respond better to authenticity and relevance, what do they respond better to that than what? They're going to respond better to authenticity and being a little tangential to your brand voice and your brand style than they are always going to be seeing the same thing, hearing the same thing day after day, week after week, whatever. Like that just gets boring. So apparently TikTok calls this creative bravery. Be bold, go big, loosen up your brand standards, and don't be afraid to take risks in your content. That's what's going to appear authentic over, pretty much anything else. So above all, we know that our audiences want to be entertained, as I said. When we focus too much on products and services, and even like that pain point marketing, like, do we need to always be educational? Do we always need to hit on that pain point, that emotional content? Yes, but no. A lot of times when we focus only on that educational content or only on talking about our products or our services or whatever it is, that gets tired, right? It gets tired. It means less engagement, less ROI. So start thinking about how to re-engage your audience with that creative bravery, with being more authentic, showing up. And we're gonna talk about the thing that's going out. I'm tired of faceless reels. I saw that, and I'll dive into that in a minute. But there are metrics for success that we can measure. And it might even be some of those vanity metrics to see when we go a little off brand, how does our audience respond to it? Is it getting more engagement? Is it getting more likes, more shares, more comments? Okay, then we know that we need to do this a little bit more. You need to look at your top performing content and see like, okay, well, we stayed really on message, really on brand. We talked about products and services here. They performed okay. But when we went just a smidge outside of our lane and loosened up the brand standards and the brand voice just a little bit, that's when the magic happens. And I feel like I did a TikTok on this a while ago. I feel like we saw that with Dunkin' Donuts in the fall. If you didn't see the spider campaign, like you need to go find the spider campaign from Halloween because it was poof, mind-blowing. I flippin' loved it. And I feel like it was the social team over at Dunkin' Donuts, I feel like kind of went a little rogue there, but it didn't feel super on brand, but it didn't feel super off brand, if that makes sense. I don't know. They personified a donut that they made to be like a spider. And it was for Halloween. And like, it was some of the best marketing that I've seen in months. And now I'm usually like head down in my own clients' marketing and looking at their competitors. But I do subscribe to a lot of marketing newsletters. And this popped up and I was like, holy hell, this is amazing. Speaking of newsletters, if you're tired of the grind of social media, I'm not saying give up social media. Don't give up social media. But I did see something that said that email newsletters are seeing an explosive growth in terms of subscribers and revenue, which is not surprising. I follow a lot of marketing experts who are the first to say, like, email newsletters, everyone should have one. There was a survey from StoryDoc that I saw linked in a blog post that said, and I found these fascinating, 90% of Americans subscribe to at least one newsletter. And 74% said that they subscribe between 1 and 10. I'm probably like 10 to 20 personally. But, and this is what I have always said about email, is the great thing about email marketing is that, one, you control when your audience hears from you. So it is a direct algorithm-free way to engage with your audience. Because there is so much, I have said this so many times, and I feel like I say this every month to half my clients. There is so much that we don't control about social media. Like, yes, we can put out the best content. One reel can get 100 likes and 10,000 views and, holy hell, our content's amazing. And then the next day, similar content, or a week later, similar content, and it falls flat. We never know And, we have an idea, obviously, about the content that performs, but we don't control who sees it. We don't control when they see it. We don't control how they react to it. So the great thing about email marketing is it is a reliable way to connect with your audience, because social media, we know, is noisy. Like, I don't even know how many millions of brands are on social media, but the competition is steep. And as I feel like I read this a couple months ago, the cost for Facebook advertising, like cost per million, that's the CPM, how much reach you get, all that fun stuff, is going up. So you have to spend the same amount of money to reach half the people. So build your list, be consistent, and don't be overwhelmed by email marketing. Also, if you do have a newsletter, I would recommend uploading it to LinkedIn, because apparently LinkedIn newsletters are a big thing. And LinkedIn has seen so much growth over the past year. As an elder millennial, I look at Gen Z and I still think that they're like high schoolers. But in the next few years, they're going to make up for like a third of the workforce. So these are digital natives, and ultimately, we need to kind of watch them because they are the new people that we are marketing to. The interesting thing about Gen Z, and this is something to consider, especially if they are kind of like in your audience or close to your audience, or people that might be following you, is that 46% of Gen Zers, I call them Zoomers. I'm sure I'm not the only person that called them Zoomers. I did not make up that name. They start their search on social media, not on Google. So social media is a search engine now. And I have said this probably for the past like 2 years, like SEO matters on social media. So be creative, be authentic, meet those Zoomers where they are, because they are the next generation of your audience. Next up, short form video is not going anywhere. It's funny because I was watching a video on TikTok that was kind of analyzing things, and it was like, I thought that YouTube was going to be making a big comeback this year with long form video, blah, blah, blah. But short form is still where it's at. And we see this because, like, think about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is now leaning into short form video, and it's its fastest growing content format. We know that Instagram is not going anywhere with their short form video, no matter what they say, but they opted to not go into longer form video, which, whew, thank God. And even if you look at the average length of TikTok videos, it's still well under 10 minutes. Like, I don't think I've ever seen, obviously you have like the live videos, but I don't think I've come across, at least in my TikTok doom scrolling, I don't think I've come across videos that are longer than like 10 minutes, even though they can be like up to 60 minutes now. TikTok wants to compete with YouTube. Instagram wants to compete with TikTok. It's all, it's all an incestuous battle among all of them. Anyhow, experiment with your length of short form video. I have clients that we create like 5-second videos and they perform really well. And then they're like, oh, is this too short? And so we do 20-second videos and they don't perform as well. So like, experiment with your video lengths, experiment with the audio, jumping on those trends versus talking head reels where you're giving a tutorial or talking directly to your audience. But as you experiment with those links, know that the first like 3 to 7 seconds is everything. That is where you capture your audience. And we know that watch time, especially on Instagram and TikTok, is one of those metrics that drives reach. So again, make sure that you're watching out for that. Make sure that you are experimenting. Finally, just as my final prediction is that user-generated content is going to be a bigger deal this year. And, this is more bigger brands and probably less so my audience here, but, I think it's still relevant. So I think a lot of larger brands are going to cut back on their influencer marketing. And largely because we're seeing a shift in how people are shopping, and almost like overconsumption is out. And I think people are tired of influencers. I think people are tired of being shilled cheap shit from China on Amazon. And I think the market is oversaturated when it comes to influencers. There's a I think a lot of these brands have concerns over ROI when it comes to working with some of the top tier influencers. Like I have a friend who owns a business and she's worked with some local influencers, and literally like influencers want to charge her like $500,000 for, one reel and one story. And that's fine, but I don't want to I would never, ever, 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 because I know how much time it takes to create content, never undermine an influencer charging what they want to charge. However, for a brand who maybe works with 10 influencers, say collectively, they probably have like 3 million people that are in their audience, anywhere from 10,000 to 150,000 people in their audience. If we are seeing a decrease in engagement across social media, which we have been for the past few years, I think there is an ROI concern there. And I think if you are someone who owns a business who is considering influencers, you need to look specifically at how you measure what your goals are with that influencer campaign, what your expectations are, because remember, social media is not magic. We do not work. We are not magicians. I say that as a social media manager. I say that as someone who was once an influencer. Well, no, I've never been an influencer. I used to be a content creator, my former blogging days of yore. But we know also collectively that reach is down, engagement is down across social media. So you're expecting a lot for probably a little budget. So the difference is I would say explore user-generated content. I think that's where it's going to be at. I think brands working with, those micro influencers who are probably less expensive than some of the bigger influencers, like the micro bloggers, all that kind of fun stuff, who are probably those brand evangelists who people overlook because they don't have the size audience that you would expect for a brand to want to work with someone. So if you're a brand evangelist or if you want to find your brand evangelist, encourage them, be like, hey, if say you have a yoga studio, oh, I see you post in your stories about us all the time. We'd love to offer a free session. Would you mind doing like a day in the life post or something like that? I don't know. But there are fun ways to work with user generated content that is so much more authentic, I feel like, than influencer campaigns. So I'm curious to see how influencing changes over the next year. Another thing and this is just a me thing, I didn't see anything about this, and it's kind of something that I'm diving into and I kind of beta testing with some of my clients, is setting up affiliate campaigns. For a lot of us business owners, we're looking for other revenue streams. With a lot of the economic uncertainty, I'm veering away from politics because I don't want to turn anyone off, but there is a lot of economic uncertainty because there is a new administration coming in and we don't know what we don't know. But, people who think that they understand how tariffs work clearly don't understand how tariffs work and how they're going to hurt the American consumers, but neither here nor there. So as business owners, we need to be prepared for how do we keep our revenue streams up, which goes back to 1, newsletters, and 2, affiliate links. How can you generate revenue through affiliate links? Like, especially if you have a decent sized audience, like how are you promoting the products that you love? And again, this comes down to authenticity. No one has to pay me. Next week, I'm going to be doing an episode about my favorite marketing tools, the tools that I use to run my business, because I feel like at the beginning of the year, we're all kind of auditing our systems, all that kind of fun stuff. So stay tuned. But, thinking about ways that you can incorporate affiliate links into your marketing to kind of add a little bit of quote unquote passive revenue, although we know that no revenue is truly passive. And I hate people that call it that. Anyhow, that's where I'm going to end today. I feel like I was a little rambly and a little all over the place, but I am excited for the year ahead. I'm excited to kind of see where the marketing landscape goes in the months ahead. Again, as always, if you are looking for some guidance on your 2025 marketing strategy, please reach out to me. I'd love to work with you. We offer strategy sessions, consulting, and done-for-you social media management. And lots of things could be changing in the months ahead, and I would love to guide you along the way. Until next time, please, please, please connect with me on social media at Heidi Schmidt Creative. Subscribe to our new newsletter, which came out a couple of weeks ago, and subscribe, leave a review, all the fun things that you do after you listen to a podcast. Until next time, go forth, create amazing content that stops the scroll.